Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening. Bit of a rush job, but I've made it.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Who's echoing?
That's all right, it's done.
Right, good evening, everyone. Big John here, National Housing Party Live. I just want to say we've got Paul Rimmer's birthday today, so I want people in the chat to put a 6 and a 1, meaning 61, in the chat, please. 61 in the chat for Paul Rimmer, please. 61, come on.
Not a 161, it's 61.
I've just rushed back to the birthday party.
And before he's 65, he'll be running in council elections, I'll guarantee you. There we go, he's coming on. I just want to also put in the chat a link to Pat's Odysee channel on Rumble. Sorry, Pat's Rumble channel. If you'd like to follow that, please follow our descriptions. And of course, when you've looked on the site and you've seen an email, you might have seen the donate link in the email as well. Whatever you can do will help us greatly. But yeah, so it's an awesome day. Paul's birthday. It's great to have a stream on a birthday day. I tell you, it's great to have a stream. But this week, we're going to be talking about the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, who like to cancel people if you have a different view than theirs, and they go to extreme measures by stopping your sponsors and that. But that's what we're talking about. But over to Pat. Come on, Pat. Tell us all about them.
Yeah, so just a shout out to Keith Woods, because he's had a lot to do with this, and the information I'm getting is what he produced on Twitter. So the ADL was formed in 1913, and there was basically a Jewish man called Leo Frank. He got arrested for a rape of a 13-year-old girl.
Rape and murder, Pat. Murdered it as well.
Yeah, murder, yeah. And basically, the Jewish guy got accused of it, taken to court. And, I mean, you might know more about this, Paul. And did they find him guilty, Paul?
He was found guilty by unanimous decision of the jury, which included 5 Jewish people. Because he claimed it was anti-Semitic. Yeah.
So the ADL was formed around this case because they were trying to protect the integrity of this Jewish man. And did they manage to overturn the conviction, Paul?
Well, it's really interesting because this guy wasn't just a Jewish man. He was the Atlanta Grand Master of the B'nai B'rith, which is the Jewish Freemasons. So he was a significant player in the Jewish community. And rather than simply overturn the verdict, which they couldn't do because there was too much evidence against them, they tried to denigrate the girl who'd been murdered. Her name was Mary Fagan. She was only 13.
Yeah.
And they called her like a common mill girl. And they got a private detective agency to try and dig dirt up about her and her family. And then they tried to frame a very simple drunken black man for doing it. For the murder, and they failed to do that. But the Jews created, well, the B'nai B'rith created such a whirlwind of fury in the Jewish community that it became a national issue in America, and they put pressure on the president, who was Woodrow Wilson at the time, and on the mayor of Atlanta to commute the sentence, because he was sentenced to death. And the mayor of Atlanta bowed to the pressure and said, look, we're not going to execute him. He's just going to serve time in prison. But the good people of Atlanta said, no, that's not acceptable. And they actually attacked the prison, pulled him out the prison and lynched him from a tree. And that was described as a raving anti-Jewish mob, but it wasn't. It was actually judges and pastors who led the march to the prison. And they said, justice must be done. And what they were actually protesting about was that this B'nai B'rith was so powerful that it could overturn the verdict of a court, and they weren't prepared to accept that. But the ADL was formed not only to defend a man who was guilty, but also to make sure that to punish any of their members was unacceptable. Somehow they were to be above the law.
Yeah, the ADL was still campaigning for his innocence. They're still saying that he was innocent. So, you know, it's quite shocking, really, the history of it. And this particular group, the Anti-Defamation League, that's what they're called. They've got a similar group in the UK called Hope Not Hate, but I think the ADL are much more powerful than them. And so the ADL have basically been policing Twitter for a long time. And they were probably the ones responsible who got Donald Trump kicked off of Twitter. Eventually, Elon Musk bought Twitter and said he's going to make it free speech. Everybody was let back on Twitter. Tommy Robinson, PA, lots of people, James Goddard, myself, many other people were let back on Twitter. Now, as soon as Elon Musk let them all back on Twitter, ADL went to work and they started threatening the advertisement people who are paying Twitter to advertise on their platform. And they were saying to Elon Musk, if you don't take this him, her, him off of Twitter, we are going to basically blackmailing him. We're going to attack your money source, who are the advertisers, and we will threaten them that we will tell people to boycott your companies and tell people you are advertising on an anti-Semitic platform. And this is how it works. So ADL basically did that, and they managed to get a few people banned again. PA, Tommy Robinson, quite a lot of people, Nick Fuentes, Kanye West, and basically Elon Musk has ended up, he's had enough of it, and he wants to fight back. So, but this all happened because Keith Wood started the hashtag ban the ADL. Now, this went viral, and it brought to the attention, it even got conservative Jews in America saying, attacking the ADL, which is quite unusual. And they basically started the hashtag ban the ADL. So Elon Musk came out and said, look, I'm not going to ban the ADL because I want free speech. Presumably that's what his reason was. But he has now had a look at all the information in Twitter, all the messages ADL have been sending in, blackmailing them, and he's basically going to take out a massive lawsuit against them. And this is groundbreaking. This has never happened before. Someone's actually trying to take these people on, Paul.
Well, the thing is, the ADL are linked with other organisations such as BlackRock, and they managed to get the advertisers to pull off Twitter. 60% of the advertising revenue of Twitter was lost because all the big companies started pulling off. This is the power of the ADL. But they're not alone, obviously. There's a horizontal link with other organizations of similar ilk. The ADL are a very powerful institution. They have an annual budget of $90 million a year. And they're engaged in huge censorship now on all the social media platforms. They're basically controlling speech in America. And this is ironic because the ADL in the past used to proclaim themselves as defenders of free speech. But now they say that not all speech is equal. If you're of the conservative who, or you're a patriot, or, you know, you're anti-globalist, somehow you're totally unacceptable. They've widened the definition of anti-Semitism to include anyone who challenges the democratic narrative, the narrative of the Democrat Party. The ADL are effectively now just a branch of the Democrat Party, but because they're a charity, it's all tax-free, the donations, and they're getting millions of dollars of donations from right across the board. Now, let me go back to the origins of the ADL. They were founded by B'nai B'rith. You ever heard of that organization, Pat?
I haven't heard of them, no.
Let me just tell the people who are watching this on your good self. B'nai B'rith are the most powerful organization in the world. They're more powerful than the United Nations. They're more powerful than the American government. They're more powerful than any organization in the world. They are the Jewish Freemasonry. They were founded in 1843, and they have branches in every city across the globe. And they linked the Jewish communities together. in secret meetings where decisions were made about which politician to support and which politicians to undermine, which organizations to back and which organizations to pull down. And people soon cottoned on that you couldn't go up against B'nai B'rith. He was so powerful. That's why the lynching of Leo Frank was such a shock. Because don't forget, and this is America before the First World War, 1913. In the interwar period, Henry Ford began to expose some of the Jewish organizations in America and the influence that they were having on government and the individuals as well, like Jacob Schiff and Louis Brandeis. And of course, when FDR got elected, there was a huge Jewish input into his administration. But Henry Ford began to expose these Jewish organizations and their influence on government and on policy, and claimed that they were anti-democratic. They were secret societies that were getting their will carried and not the will of the American people. And he got quite a bit of momentum, Henry Ford, and then he was targeted by the ADL, and they threatened to destroy the Ford Motor Company. And you know what Henry Ford did? He backed down and he changed track. And what we see now with Elon Musk is Elon Musk has threatened to take them to court, but the ADL have upped the ante. They said, look, if you take us to court, we're going to get you off Google. Your apps will no longer be applicable. Because who owns Google? Sergey Brin. Sergey Brin is one of them. Now, not only are they going to stop the apps, but they can close down Twitter effectively. They've let Twitter know this. They've let Elon Musk know this. But Elon Musk is a one-off, isn't he? But guess who Elon Musk is going to meet next week, Pat?
I don't know. Trump.
Benjamin Netanyahu, the president of Israel, is going to have a discussion with him and get him to step back from his attack on the ADL. And they're bringing out the big guns because Elon Musk is a big gun because he's so wealthy. But they're bringing out the big guns, and Elon Musk is going to be shot down one way or another.
A coincidence, though, Paul, that Henry Ford had a big motor car company, and Elon Musk has also got one, Tesla.
Well, these are big corporations. These people will not tolerate any dissent. This is the real problem. Now, not all Jews agree with the ADL. There are like Orthodox Jews who realize that these people have started to attack the values of God. They're unrighteous people. They're promoting. I mean, now the ADL, one of its platforms is to expose any anti-transgender rhetoric online. And they're promoting transgender rights for children, which means children can take hormone blockers and get surgery without their parents' permission. So this is an attack on really God's creation. And a lot of Orthodox Jews have become very uncomfortable with the direction that the ADL has taken. Its leader now, Jonathan Greenblatt, who runs it, he's an ex-Democrat. He's worked for Democrat administrations. He's just turned the ADL into an attack dog for Biden and the Democrats. I mean, they just said Trump, for calling out the globalists and for being anti-communist, is anti-Semitic. They've used that as an attack line against Trump himself. They're widening this definition of anti-Semitism to include anyone who's against the leftist agenda. And so it's become really, it's not just unrighteous, it's downright evil now, what these people are promoting. They're trying to make it that the only legitimate speech you can hear online or in the media is the pro-left, anti-Christian nonsense that we get. And that anyone who challenges that is somehow deemed anti-Semitic. I mean, I've just been kicked off, well, I haven't been kicked off Twitter, but I've been banned for a week. And it's the ADL have upped the pressure on Elon Musk, and there's been a lot of bans over this past few days. And it's hotting up. But we're up against a formidable foe here. Are we going to overcome them, Pat?
Well, it just takes me back to when I had a brief spell in For Britain. And you had a lot of people in For Britain who were obsessed with exposing what's in the Quran. And, you know, I can understand why they was like that, because we don't really want our society lived by the way of the Quran. But I was trying to explain to them that because they want the Quran exposed, but then they would support people being persecuted and prosecuted for saying something about World War II, a different opinion of a certain event in World War II. And I say to them, how can you want freedom of speech? You keep saying you want freedom of speech, but the reason you're not allowed to speak about the Quran openly is because they don't want people to speak about that in World War II. And they couldn't get it in their heads. And this ADL is what it's all about. This is why they will attack anyone who speaks the truth about the Quran. Because once we're allowed to talk about the Quran, we can talk about the Torah and World War II. So, you know, I'm so glad this has all come out, because it is a massive thing for our society. We don't have freedom of speech. And, you know, I pray to God that Elon Musk has the strength to stand up to these bullies. They're anti-white at the core. They're anti-Christian. They're against the nations of Europe and America and Canada and Australia. And I just pray to God that Elon Musk has the strength to you know, go forward, because, you know, presumably he's got all the information before he took it over. He's probably got all of the information and the messages they were having between each other when they was getting Trump banned. And that's something like unprecedented. They got the president of the United States taken off of the marketplace, the market square, the modern day market square. So it's very interesting, but in history, we usually see who ends up winning this battle. So, you know, we'll see what's going to happen, because, you know, the West is in trouble financially. And this is why they want to take Russia out of the game so desperately, because Russia, they won't cooperate with the Central International Bank. They won't cooperate with the petrodollar. And this is why they you know, they're promoting Christianity. This is why they want to get Russia completely off the field. And they're failing. They're losing badly in Ukraine. And, you know, you've got China rising up as well. I mean, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that the West is sinking. What do you think, Paul?
Well, going back to the ADL first, I've no problem with getting the truth about the Torah out, because the Torah is the word of God. It's the Talmud that we really want to get the truth out about. But these people are not Talmudic Jews. They're not Orthodox Jews in any sense. The people who run the ADL, they're assimilated Jews. A lot of them are godless. They believe in the philosophy of Spinoza, and the secularists, you know, they actually don't like religion in any forms, including Orthodox Judaism, which has caused a lot of problems. I mean, there's a guy called Ron Coleman who was a member of the ADL, but is an Orthodox Jew, and he's come out strongly against the ADL and the line they're pushing. And he said that they're actually now a force for evil. And they remind me very much of the Bolsheviks, the Chekists in Russia, whose motto was not a single word of truth. There's one thing that these people all despise. That's the truth. If you lie, and if you tell porkies, you have no problems with that. They'll support you the whole way. If you make these crazy accusations against people, they'll support you the whole way. I mean, the ADL has never stood up for white people. I mean, they're saying with this South African guy who was singing "Kill the Boers," they said anyone who exposes him is a white supremacist. The ADL has never condemned the mainstream media for pushing an anti-white agenda, which has led to numerous violent attacks upon whites. In fact, if anyone points out that whites are being physically attacked and that this is being provoked by the media, the ADL are saying this is racism and this is anti-Semitism. To think that white people or Christian people or nations such as the British and Americans can stand up for themselves and assert themselves, this has now become part of their anti-Semitic agenda. So Donald Trump is being rubbished and called an anti-Semite for attacking globalism. What is globalism? Globalism is the transfer of power and money and influence from the nation state, where it belongs and where it's accountable to the people, to global institutions such as the United Nations, such as the EU, such as NATO. I mean, the ADL are very happy with their money and resources and power being transferred to these global institutions. And it goes on into the economic realm with the likes of the IMF and the World Bank, and into the legal realm. You know, they want power to go to the global institutions, but this disempowers the people. This is anti-democratic, because these globalist institutions are not accountable to the people and have their own agendas, which ride roughshod over the people and take us into wars and take us into all sorts of horrible situations. But the ADL has become totally politicized, and yet it claims to be neutral, politically neutral. It claims to be a charity. It claims that it doesn't have to pay tax because it's a charitable organization. But all it is now is an attack dog. That's all it is against any conservative or patriotic voices. So it's and religious voices as well, orthodoxy. I mean, you talked about the Quran there. I mean, the ADL would attack traditional, you know, Orthodox Islam because of its beliefs, you know, its value system. The ADL, they're a dangerous organization. I mean, Ron Coleman, who's a Jew, an Orthodox Jew, has called them out and said, look, you're not a force for good, you're a force for evil. And if he's saying it, you can bet it's true. But what was your other point, Pat, about the West, the fall of the West? Go on, John. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, very dangerous organisation. They've probably got something to do with why Roger Waters is being attacked. And Roger Waters goes back for me. He's part of my childhood growing up with Pink Floyd. And obviously he did a video called The Wall. And if anyone knows a video, they know that it's a person struggles going down to the dark side, then he sees a light and he comes out and redeems himself. But now, because he's stood up for Palestine, they're saying that that video is to do with Nazis and stuff like that. And it's been out since the 80s. And, you know, I'm not bothered about the issue of Palestine, Israel. What I'm bothered about is the issue of how they turn to cancel somebody when they speak out. And Roger Waters is exactly this kind of thing that's going on now, where he spoke out, siding with the Palestinians. Now they're saying that his video is linked to Nazism and he was a Nazi when he did the video and all that, which just isn't true. You know what I mean? But it's a very dangerous organization. And what I'm seeing more of is more people who are innocent getting dragged into these things. I mean, I hardly ever talk about Jews unless it's schooling in Hackney. But they've already, a couple of years ago, tried branding me that I go on about Jews. And I'm like, what? I don't say nothing. I don't go on about them. I don't say nothing about them. It's relevant to me because they're outside this country and we shouldn't be bothering about that particular war, that side or whatever. But yeah, very dangerous. And I'm guessing they'll be linked to hundreds, if not thousands of people getting cancelled somewhere down the line. We talk about social media, but people lose their jobs and lose their livelihoods because of these people. Very dangerous indeed. I wouldn't say that they're terrorists, but they're a very dangerous organisation. Pat.
What we know, John, is that when we talk about these people, we've got to, it's not walking on eggshells, we're walking on razors, because these people can cut you. I mean, this video itself is going to be reported now because you're not allowed to challenge these people. It's almost like just to name it, just to draw attention to it. Even if, you see, what I say is let's be objective about these things. Let's be fair-minded about them, but let's investigate them. But they don't like to be investigated. I mean, the fact that they're so biased and are now, like, you know, they're linked up with other organizations such as the American Civil Liberties Union and the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. These institutions in the past regarded themselves as politically neutral, but not now. And they're, as you say, they're targeting and destroying individuals. They ruined Facebook. Facebook was a great place for banter, for the exchange of ideas, and then suddenly the bans got worse and worse and worse. Were you ever on Facebook, Pat?
Not really, no. I haven't really been on Facebook. But yeah, just going back to the counter-jihad movement, it was just ridiculous because they wanted the freedom of speech to expose Islamic teachings all the time. Thank you for pointing out the difference between the Torah and the Talmud. It was the later book that you know, they don't want us discussing that. They don't want us exposing that. So that's why they won't let you speak about Islam either. So people forget this, that it's a blanket ban on freedom of speech coming from a certain clique of people, and ADL is one of these clique of people. They are, you know, they're anti-white and anti-Christian to the core.
Well, not only that, Pat, they're massively pro-immigration, mass uncontrolled immigration, and anyone who challenges that narrative is also finding themselves cancelled.
Yeah.
But these people are not small beer. These people terrify Elon Musk. He is really concerned because they're almost trying to destroy X. They terrify corporations, and they work together with the likes of BlackRock to make sure now that corporations always push their line. And corporations are terrified of losing advertising. They're terrified of losing markets. They're terrified of just having a finger pointed at them. See, these people almost have a religious power now. They can be, if they condemn you, if they point the finger, you're in trouble. And this is the power that they have, and they're allied in America. The Biden administration, as they call it, weaponized. They made the Department of Justice an attack dog to go against their political opponents. This is undermining democracy. This is undermining liberty. This is totally destroying the free West. I mean, Pat talked about the fall of the West. The West now, when we face problems now, the reason we can't resolve problems and redeem situations is because of these people. They stop any open dialogue, and they get governments to pass laws against so-called hate speech. But there's no equality of speech. The left can hate who they want, when they want, in the most vitriolic terms that they want. But if the right is mildly critical of certain groups, they find themselves being accused of hate crimes. It's not equal. There's no equity there. There's no fairness. We're undermining the whole impartiality of Western justice and Western democracy and Western freedom of speech. And in place, we've substituted in its place a form of totalitarianism. I mean, I was speaking to a guy last week who was from East Germany, and he said they had more freedom under communism than they do in the West today. He said they were more able to speak out against the government in East Germany than we are today, because people in the West are scared of losing their jobs. They're scared of being stigmatized. I mean, if these people start sticking labels on you, and they have a whole swathe of labels that they'll stick on people, we know them all. The R word, the anti-Semitic word, the homophobic word, all this stuff. They stick these labels on people and they destroy lives. So people are scared of these people because they do have real social, political, and economic power, and they use it in the most ruthless and brutal way imaginable. They do not care about their victims. They claim victimhood all the time for their groups, but really they're the villains, and they're going out and they're trying to destroy any opposition. For me, Pat, this is the end of democracy in the West. If we don't challenge this and overcome it, we're basically prisoners.
I mean, it's interesting what one of you said earlier regarding Google, because they could quite easily take Twitter off the Google App Store. That's what they did to Gab, and that's what they do to people on Telegram. They can't completely ban people on Telegram, but they can ban them from the App Store, I believe, and then that basically stops just normal people being able to download the app of whatever certain channel they want on Telegram. But a prime example of allowing certain people to spew anti-white hatred is there's been a guy on tour. John, you there?
John? Yeah, I'm here, guys. Let me just go through chat. Who we got in? Antonella. Good evening. Yeah. Budgie Burger. Yes, mate. Oh, yeah, he is a commie. But cancel him over that video he made in the 80s where no one said anything. Just shows the like of what these groups are like. I get that. I get what you're saying. Good evening, Mark Williams, Craggs, Peter Smith. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the chat as well, by the way. Very interesting. Very interesting. Just a quick thought. Next Saturday, we're in Oldham Town Centre. Quite a few people and there's a few speakers. So if you're around the area, next Saturday will be good. Get up to Oldham. Meeting at Annie Kenny's statue around 1 p.m. So I'll be in Wetherspoons having breakfast with my mum and my grandniece before that. But that's Oldham next Saturday for people. But thank you in the chat and stuff like that. Go on, Pat. Carry on.
Yeah, what's the name of that guy's? What's that guy's name who's written the book and it's about whiteness?
Oh, Kehinde Andrews.
Yeah, tell us a bit about him. He's basically he's been given a platform by the authorities to incite violence against white people with his anti-white hate campaign.
Yeah, there's a few of them, Pat. There's a few of them, not just him. When you get black people writing books, normally it's about race and white people. That's what they write books about. And he's been given a platform. He's touring the UK with his book, and it's called The Psychosis of Whiteness, saying like white people are mentally ill and stuff like that. Just a proper anti-white book. But there's several books. David Ossologa, he's done it, and another person called Rini Edo Lodge, Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race. And these books promoted, they go on the bestsellers list. And I just want to say, if these books were reversed and it had black on, you'd be convicted, you'd be sent to jail, you'd be cancelled, you'd lose your life, you'd lose your job, you'd lose your house. You'd be never seen again. But it's all right for black people to write about white people. It's just a joke. But yeah.
That's the key, John. The key is the double standards. When it applies to them, you can't say anything, but they can abuse you to the hilt. And talking about Roger Waters, right? Roger Waters has made it a sort of life mission to speak up for the Palestinian people. Now, that's a very dangerous line to take. Because one thing about the ADL, they will not accept criticism of Israel. Israel has the toughest immigration policy in the world for non-Jews. To get into Israel as a non-Jew is extremely difficult. And of course, they exclude any returning Palestinians who used to live in Palestine. And of course, in Israel, they have different standards. Everything is different in Israel. They talk about the reason they don't want immigration into Israel, non-Jewish immigration, because it will threaten the demographics of Israel, that it will threaten the Jewish majority. And they don't allow any criticism of Israel, and they shout it down. I mean, they can accuse everybody else of racism, but if anyone calls Zionism racism, and alive, it's like you've really disturbed the apple cart, and these people will attack you. Now, we know there's an organization called Mossad, and Mossad is one of the most dangerous and seediest organizations on the planet. They carry out political assassinations. They destroy people. See, the ADL, if it was just by itself and left to its own devices, would be laughable, but it's not. It's part of a whole infrastructure of organizations which target anybody who dares to criticize them. We're engaged in a dangerous game, just naming this.
Well, what I would say about Mossad is they are suspected of running the Epstein Island blackmail ring, which was a honeypot trap for all the world leaders to get them in compromising sexual positions and put on videotape. Biden is the chief suspect because why in hell would anyone want him as the leader, let alone the most powerfulest country in the world? You know, it's so obvious that why is he there? And they must have so much dirt on him that they want him there because he will do exactly what they say. And also yesterday or the day before was 9/11. And, you know, I've learned some new things today. I watched a video today, and this is apparently this is categorically confirmed. Right, you had the dancing Israelis on the roof of the van. That was one group of Secret Service Israeli personnel. On the day of 9/11, they were on the top of the van, filming it with lighters and celebrating the Twin Towers coming down. Also, on that day, a van was stopped on a bridge between New Jersey, New York. Again, it was Israeli intelligence, and the van was full of explosives. And anyone who's seen these Twin Towers go down, it's pretty obvious that they were detonations. And you had the third building, Building 7, no plane crashed.
What I would say, Pat, if I can interrupt you there, is be careful what you say, because we are on YouTube, and YouTube is heavily censored. If you step over the line, they'll just take this video down. This is the power these people have. I mean, we're not allowed to voice our opinions or to give different perspectives.
I've watched videos of people saying this information on YouTube, so hopefully this won't get taken
on
down.
YouTube, yeah, definitely on YouTube.
Yeah, so the 3 buildings went down. The third building, Building 7, no plane hit it. It's obvious it was a demolition, and one of the planes went down in the field in Pennsylvania. Now, was that plane supposed to get to that building? Because it looks like it was supposed to get there. It didn't get there. So they went through with the plan anyway. But you can watch endless videos about this event, and it's pretty obvious that a load of hijackers. I mean, I watched a video yesterday of one of the planes going into the tower. These hijackers had never even flown a plane, and they reckon they learned how to fly a plane, and then directed it to pinpoint precision, not only to not hit the one what had already been hit, but hit the building what hadn't been hit, if you get what I'm saying. So it's just all very laughable. Also, the passport, the way they identified the hijackers is the passport fell out of the plane and went down to the ground level, and it wasn't burnt in the fireball when the
What I would say, Pat, with this is that, have you heard of Vivek Ramaswamy? He's one of the candidates for the Republican nomination for the president, the Indian guy. Well, he's read some of the documents that have been released by the FBI about 9/11. And in these documents, he found that the FBI knew who these people were and knew who met them at the Los Angeles airport when they first came into the country. But at the time, the FBI said they didn't know who met them. It was a random man, and they didn't know who these people were. So they've contradicted themselves in the documents. So there's all sorts of questions about 9/11 that should be asked, but it's suppressed. It's suppressed. I mean, the question with these 5 dancing Israelis is, why were they allowed to return to Israel, and then you can't be extradited back to America from Israel? They let them go, even though they suspected that they had some involvement with 9/11. That is extraordinary.
Well, there's so many things that don't add up. Like, I've named a few. Also, there was 4 planes hijacked on the day. So that would be 4 different locations where these alleged hijackers boarded the planes. There's no CCTV of these people anywhere. And they would have been picked up in the airports. There's just no doubt. And the story is that an Israeli company owned the CCTV networks within the airports. And on the day, they said, the cameras weren't working. So it's just endless things that don't add up. Nick Fuentes has done a great video on it, if anyone wants to watch it, and he keeps it simple. And what was the motive of alleged Mossad doing this operation? To get public support to invade Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, and Syria.
Real problem with this, Pat, is that 9/11 has radically altered America itself. They brought the Patriot Act, and they gave enormous powers to the secret service organizations like the FBI. A lot of the people who are being persecuted now for January the 6th, it's all based on this Patriot Act. It's empowered America become almost like a police state after 9/11.
It had a massive effect here, Paul, because, after Iraq, you had ISIS rising up, which was another suspicious thing. They rose up, and then we was getting terrorist attacks here. They brought new laws out here, like you can come back from here, and anti-terrorist police can literally pull you over if you don't agree to look in your phone and answer questions. You're going to be charged for terrorism, and this is all leads back to 9/11. So this is a massive event which has affected the whole of the West. And
not only does it affect the laws of the country, as you say, it led to massive wars, and it's produced in America an amazing budget deficit. America's $34 trillion in debt. A lot of that debt was accrued in fighting these wars, and in fighting wars, it's become a habit of America now to get involved in wars. The military-industrial complex has used 9/11 to empower itself and to acquire for itself trillions of dollars of taxpayers' money. 9/11 was a turning point in American history that we're only now starting to appreciate.
Right. So who do you think done it, Paul? Who did 9/11?
I don't know what we can say on YouTube, Pat, but I tell you what, the role of, you see, people say it was a gang. It was a gang of Muslims. Who were Al Qaeda? Al Qaeda were a bunch of riffraffs who were actually, the CIA were involved with Al Qaeda in its formation and in its arming. And, you know, when it saw, you know, the Governor Whitmer in Michigan, that the FBI hatched a whole plot to hijack her just to incriminate so-called far-right terrorists or whatever. I just don't trust any of these American institutions anymore. The role of the CIA in the assassination of JFK. I mean, Robert Kennedy's son believes the CIA killed him and killed his father as well. What happened after the Second World War? Why did these American Secret Service organizations start to behave in a very different manner, began to target American patriots, began to target people who challenged the military-industrial complex? They were involved with, I believe, you know who. I mean, I'm reluctant really to nail my colours to the mast here because I don't know what you can say publicly, but Mossad know a lot about everything, and this would not have happened if Mossad didn't want it to happen. I can guarantee that.
The ironic thing about this is that you're being very careful what you're saying because of the ADL. This is what the ADL have done to us. We cannot speak freely. We just want to have an honest conversation about a massive event in history which happened 20 years ago, which caused the mass murder of millions of Muslims. Most nationalists in the UK were against those wars from the beginning. And we can't even have an honest conversation about it. And this is what this stream is all about. The ADL, they're a dictatorship. They're against free speech. They're anti-white. They're anti-Christian. They don't want strong nations in the West. That's what they're all about.
What you got to realise, Pat, is that terrorism, modern terrorism, was birthed in Palestine by a gang called the Irgun Gang, Menachem Begin. And they targeted British officials. They targeted any opponents of Zionism. They used car bombs and they used assassinations. And this has been the basis of which the state of Israel has proceeded from thence. The state, I mean, anyone who becomes an enemy of the state of Israel becomes a target. I mean, Roger Waters is exposing this. These people have enormous reach, enormous power. And anyone who speaks out against them is in danger of at least being cancelled. So you've got to be very careful what you're saying. And on that point, Pat, I'm going to have to leave because I've got to go to a meeting. And I don't want people knocking on my door, you know. I've got to go to a meeting tonight, Pat, so I've got to leave at this now. So I'll see you later.
Bye, Paul.
Cheers, guys.
Right, John, you there?
I'm here. Very interesting, and it is very eye-opening, and we need to deal with these groups and these kind of people. You know, I would never think of doxing anyone, me, Pat. I would never do it. I would never think of.
One more thing, right? So,
go on.
So I honestly understand. Well, some people say to me, "Why don't you support Israel?" And I say, "Well, you know, I understand why they want to have a nationalist country, but the thing I don't like is that they've got a Friends of Israel group in every one of our mainstream parties. They got it in Liberal Democrats, Labour Party, Conservatives, and probably a few others. And why are they interfering with our politics? And I object to that as a nationalist. I completely object to it. And anyone who says they're not interfering is like, why haven't they got a Friends of Nigeria group in every party? Why isn't there a Friends of Peru group in every party? It's so obvious that they are obviously making an impact on shaping our political message from our mainstream party. So that's what I usually say to people. That's the problem I have with Israel. So but yeah, it's an interesting conversation, and at the end of the day, ADL, that's their main that's their main kind of sponsor, or that's the people they're trying to protect the most. And but yeah, so what do you make of it all, John?
I'm guessing. I bet you were buzzing. I know you would be buzzing because before this, if we would have mentioned them, would have been cancelled. But I get into nationalism myself, and I've never talked about like Jews or World War II. Then a couple of years ago, they did a nasty picture on the Stand Up to Racism site. And it showed me shouting at someone, but there was a woman next to me, and I wasn't shouting at the woman. And then it said something like, "This woman's family died in the Holocaust. Who are these people trying to brand me?" Like I said. So the week after, I went up to this woman, and I showed her the picture, and I said, "I wasn't talking to you on that day." She went, "It don't matter. I don't care. You're one of them." And I thought, yeah, but I wasn't. I want you to like show you the picture to show you that it was nothing to do with me. So why are you putting me up? But when the picture went on Facebook, there were some comments of people claiming they were Jewish, saying that it were bullshit. And even one of them messaged me, said, "I know what they're like. They're just trying to brand you like they do other people." That's what they said. And then I learned then that even if you don't say anything about them, you can still be targeted. And they're trying it again. Mentioned in Jewish Chronicle, but I don't mention them. I don't say nothing. I don't say anything about the Holocaust. I don't say anything about rabbis or anything. Although I did do a video where I talked about that a prominent Jewish rabbi said that Jews had slaves in the slave times. That's all I did a video on. You know what I mean? I didn't blame them for anything. I'm just saying that they had slaves, and that's what he said. And but these are the people who want to cancel everything. These are the people who want to erase our history. And I won't be surprised if people like that ADL are the ones who get books changed or erased or cancelled, Pat. Books, concerning our history and things like that. I won't be surprised if they're the ones pushing that we have these kind of people, Rini Edo-Lodge, David Ossologa, and Keone Andrews writing anti-white trash in books. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be surprised if it's them. You know what I mean? But yeah, but it is good that Elon's got involved, and it is good that it's gone more mainstream. As people were seeing, I put Twitter up then, and there were loads of hashtag ban the ADL posts. And I mean, a couple of years ago, you'd have never got away with that, but they're all there. But, it's just wrong on every level, Pat.
Well, at the end of the day, John, the reason they hate you, John, is because you're a leader of a nationalist party. You're half Jamaican, half Indigenous British. You've got a claim to this land. You're leading a party with nationalist policies. You want to prevent the Indigenous population becoming a minority. And we're a Christian nationalist party. This is why they're targeting you. Like, if you was a liberal lefty, they'd be sending you money. Because
they would, wouldn't they? I just want to go through the chat. Thank you, everyone in the chat. Ragnar, good evening there, sir. Thank you in the chat. Budgie, you've been well on it tonight, and you are overstepping the line when no one's been to the moon. But I'm not going to go on. I'm not going to go any further on that. But that's a good. Peter Smith. Oh yeah, my mate Peter's moving this weekend. Good luck on the move, Peter, and hope everything goes all right. Don't forget our party, guys. I've put the link up in the chat to the party website. You can donate through on there if you wish to, or join our mailing list at least as well, please. If you're not joined our mailing list, get to the front page of the site and please join our mailing list. You're not being a member, you're just joining the mailing list and you'll know when streams come up. So if you can all do that tonight, please. And I've also put in Pat's Odysee channel. I'll do that again. That can go in. If you read our description, you'll see more links to social media in there. We need to try and get our other channels going up a bit. So maybe in the future, we might be doing non-YouTube and living through one of the other channels or something, just to get people attracted to it and get you going on it. But thank you everyone in the chat for your comments and that. Again, it's Paul's 61st birthday today. So he was in his 50s when he did his running for Mayor and Crime Commissioner. And I'm only 56, so I've got plenty of time ahead of me, guys. Plenty of time ahead of me. Pat, how's your campaign going?
Campaign's going very well, John. Let me come to that in a minute. Just want to reiterate what Paul said about the ADL. I mean, the story of the ADL, how it started. I mean, this guy raped and murdered a 13-year-old girl, and then he was lynched from the prison because originally he got a death sentence and then they commuted it to life imprisonment. And the ADL are still campaigning to clear his name, to be innocent. It's just unbelievable. This is the group who are controlling our free speech. This is what this stream is all about, and we're talking about it. But yeah, the campaign's going really well, John. I was out knocking on doors the other day, and quite a few people have said they'd be voting for me. I saw some old voters, they'll be voting for me again. I've got someone coming with me on Thursday, canvassing with me, which is great because it's give me a real morale booster. So ladies and gentlemen, if you just want to come along with any of us going out knocking on doors, just to come along and see how it's done, and you can, it's nice to have someone with you. It's a bit of a struggle having to go out on your own all the time. It's hard to motivate yourself, but I'll still do it. I will still do it. There's no doubt about that. But it's good to let other people see how it works, because the only way we're going to change things, people, is by knocking on the door. You knock on the door, you speak to the voter. Will you vote for me? Yes or no? Yes, I will. Great. Put a yes down. Go to the next door. Will you? Who'd you vote for? I vote for Labour. Will you vote for me? No. Right, so you put a no down. So now you don't knock on that door again, and you go through the whole ward. And you work out where your support is, and that's how BNP won all those seats. As simple as that. And they put the fear of God into the establishment. The establishment absolutely panicked and promoted UKIP to block the BNP. The establishment had no idea that UKIP would manage to galvanise the population to vote for Brexit. And that's how we got Brexit, all from knocking on doors in local elections. So, we don't need people around us saying there's no political solution, because there is. It's all happening in Europe, France, Germany, Spain, Vox, AFD, National Rally. So my campaign's going good, John. I've got my leaflet out. I've got enough leaflets left. You must have leaflets left so you can go and knock on the door and say, did you get my leaflet? Most of the people say no. So you have to give them another leaflet. You go through the points. And it's going really well. So I've got once I've run out of these leaflets, I'll do the recruitment leaflet. That's going to be delivered to 5,000 letterboxes in my wards, and then I'll go out knocking on doors again. Once I get rid of all them, I'll start concentrating on designing my final leaflet. So also we've got a campaign coming up in Leicester. And we're thinking about having a meeting in Leicester. So anybody in the West Midlands or wherever in the country, if you want to come to Leicester and help us on this opening day of our campaign in Leicester, please come along so we can help the candidate leaflet, and hopefully we'll have a meeting in the evening as well. I've got to say the how do I put it? The latest edition of the recruitment leaflet is spectacular. It's an excellent picture of John on the front, and there's 2 new policies on there. Take sex education out of schools. Schools should be there to teach children about Jesus, maths, English, science, history, geography, computers. Yeah, we're a Christian nationalist party. We need Jesus Christ brought back into our society. Our society is a chaotic mess now, and the reason it's a chaotic mess is because the communists have removed Christianity. So the new recruitment leaflet, the latest edition, is excellent. Also, we've got on that leaflet all about the climate hoax. We want to scrap ULEZ, scrap LTNs, scrap the net zero targets for houses by 2035. We want to cancel all these 20-mile-an-hour zones. They just brought it in Wales. The whole of Wales is going to be 20 miles an hour. They are literally grinding us down like the Khmer Rouge did in Cambodia in 1978, going back to the year 0. They don't want us using cars anymore. This is part of our life, our society, and they just want to take it away because they are backward communists. And yeah, so it's all going well. If you are watching this channel, you want to stand for us in local elections, get in touch. We can get 5,000 recruitment leaflets organised for your area. It's going to cost us about 230 quid. And what we usually do is we'll leaflet your area where you're thinking of standing, just so that the area gets familiar with our party name. We're a new party, and everyone loves our party. No one disagrees with us because it's just common sense. You cannot lose the debate on housing and immigration. We're full up. We've got over 1 million people waiting for council flats in this country, and the government are flooding millions of people into the country, and it's wrong. That's where we stand, and there's multiple issues we campaign on and what are easily won on the debate. And yeah, so it's all happening, guys. The party's growing. £22 to join on the website, £11 if you're unwaged, old age pensioners, veterans, £11. So please get in touch. Please donate to us if you just want to sit in the background and just give us a financial contribution, which we need mostly to get recruitment leaflets. We're continually buying 5,000 batches of these recruitment leaflets to go and target new areas. But we don't like to target an area until we find someone who's willing to stand. So come on, guys, stand up for your country. It's not a daunting task. You can do it. I've done it. John's done it. Paul Rimmer's done it. We've all done it. And nothing happens to you. We're not in the trenches dodging bullets and hand grenades, yeah? All we got to do is soak up the politically correct words what are directed at us, yeah? And we don't even engage with those words. We don't even say we are not those words, because once you start defending yourselves against the isms and the phobias, you're on the back foot, and you're giving them an opportunity and an advantage. So, yeah, so great stream, John. Do you want to add anything? He's not there. John?
I'm here, yeah. Thank you, Pat. Good stream. Thank you to Paul there, 61 years old. I've got a couple of projects coming up, but I'm pretty busy next few weeks. We've got demo in Oldham on Saturday. The week after, I've got Mers Question Time in Bolton with Andy Burnham and the police are there. And I'm going to pull them about violence against women. At the Mers Question Time, so that'll be interesting. It's normally recorded, so if it does record and I do speak, I will cut the recording out and I'll put it online. I'll put it on my channel. But I've just helped past couple of weeks. I've just helped somebody get rehoused from my Hollingwood area. A vulnerable person, and she's got housing now. She's in a better place, and I've just spent past couple of weeks supporting her with the council, talking to the council and with the housing association. So I've just done that. and I've got a few people to see in the Hollins area, some other stuff coming up. So I'm busy all the time, me. Busy all the time. There's no such thing as like I'm not doing anything to do with my campaign. If I'm at home, I'm doing something to do with my campaign. If I'm out, I'm doing something to do with my campaign or something to do with Hollins. But like I said, I've been busy past couple of weeks. I haven't been in the Bible class because I have actually physically at that time been helping people. So that's what I've been doing. So yeah, that's coming up. But we're having a good show. And as Pat says, you can join the party, support us in however way you can. I put the party website link in the chat a couple of times. Look out for our social media. We're going to try and build up our other pages on Odysee and some of the other channels. So we might be doing stuff specific to them channels. But yeah, thank you very much, everyone. Anything else, Pat?
Yeah, just quickly, if anybody wants to come to our Bible study, don't have to be a Christian to join our party, but we do have a Bible study for Christians because everybody is aware that all the churches around our country are woke now, and no real Christians want to go to these churches. So we have a weekly Bible study every Wednesday night, 7 o'clock. You can email myself or John to get in touch with us. If you go to the website, just contact John through his phone number on the website. Also, yes, if you could subscribe to my Rumble channel, if you could just put that in the chat again there, John. Please subscribe to that. I'm sick of YouTube. I'm just sick of it. I've got nearly 1,000 subscribers, and I do a video, and there's just no interaction from the. They're just suppressing it. I know they are. So yeah, I was going to try and get the Rumble promoted more, but yeah, please come along to the Bible study if you're a Christian and you're looking for an unwoke church. Paul Rimmer leads, and we read from the Bible every Wednesday night, 7 o'clock. Just need to get your email address on our mailing list. Like John also said, if you go to our website, you can also go to the mailing list for the party, but that's not connected to the Bible study. So you have to directly ask us for to be put on the mailing list for the Bible study. Okay. So yeah, thanks for everyone who's watched the stream tonight, and it's an interesting stream. Let's pray to God that Elon Musk is victorious and does not buckle under the pressure from the ADL. And yeah, so that's about it, John.
Thank you very much, Pat. Thank you, Paul. Again, 61 he was being today, which is a good time. Thank you, Sue. Thank you, everyone in the chat. Don't forget, catch you next week, 7 p.m. sharp, for more chat. Thank you very much. Good night, everyone.